Okay. Fire away, guys.
When you look at Auburn's offense, obviously a lot of different weapons, but historically good numbers. What do you see there that makes them so good, I guess?
Yeah, there's a lot to see that makes them so good. To get a base value, Bruce is, doing his thing, right? He keeps it really, really simple and puts guys in a position to play where they're really familiar with what they're doing and they're really good at it. And he's got, most of the time he's got 5 guys on the floor that are all capable of putting up 20 on any given night. They're incredible shot makers. They make really, really hard shots. Their front line is really, really impactful on the offensive glass. They have a physicality and a creativity to their game that's pretty special.
What about following up on that? What about Janai Bruce? How do you can't really stop him? How do you contain a guy like this, especially if you can do so many things?
Yeah. He's a terrific talent. He's a veteran guy. He's got that moxie to him where he actually is playing the game. It's fun to watch him. When most teams don't send a second defender on him in the post, for example, but when guys do, he just is like, you can see him actually enjoying the prospect of kind of of playing the game, of like tricking guys, of ball faking and pivoting through and no look passes and laser passes, and like he just is one example of his game. Like he's really out there playing the game, enjoying the game. He's, we talk about this all the time. Most of us do the game. He plays it. He plays at a really high level. It's hard to get him rushed. It's hard to get him sped up. He makes, he's got a whole bevy of junk shots that he makes around the rim, and he can space out the floor and make shots there. He's his speed, super physical, really, really creative, his pace player.
What's the benefit there of Bruce having him for 3 seasons now? I mean, it'd be like you having Amari or Lamont or any of these guys for 3 seasons.
I think I think the beautiful part of longevity, which we don't have in college athletics very much anymore, is you just get to know each other so well, and you start to get to build things around it. If for example, if I was starting with this team today with the whole season ahead of us, it's one, they already have this foundational knowledge of kind of how we approach the game, but 2, I actually know situations, I'm learning every day, fun situations that we can put our guys in where it's like, hey, this player just has a unique knack to kind of make this play more often than not. And so clearly, they know each other really, really well, and the more foundation you have, the more creative you get to be, the more comfortable you get to be, the more you get to explore the game, which is what makes it really exhilarating.
Any worry about Ortega, Brandon, or any of the rest of the guys coming down from that emotional high that was Wednesday night?
I don't think so. It's this is every game is, it's a beautiful thing about Kentucky. Every game is the biggest game ever in the history of the world, and certainly in this game against #1 Auburn in Rupp, our second to last home game, is going to have no shortage of drama to it. But it's every game is so dramatic.
With Ortega's 18 points straight to end the game there, when you went back and watched the film, was there anything in particular aside from just the actual scoring that you really liked about how he was getting those points?
Well, going back and watching the film, I love his defensive intensity. Like he had sustained such a tremendous defensive effort the entire game. It was the last 8 minutes for him was really special offensively. The first 32 minutes of the game, he didn't play the whole time, was less inspiring, and but I thought the entire game he had a ton of juice defensively, which he's been upping his defensive effort and focus. Seems like every single game for the whole second half of the season. On the offensive end, I thought, he just was, one of the great things about Ortega is he doesn't carry a lot of baggage around with him. He just is on to the next play. He's pretty present, and I thought he did a great job, kind of moving on to the next play and the next play and the next play, and he just did them all in sequence where he scored all the points.
Coach, how rare is it for a player in college basketball like Janai Brew, for example, to be leading his team in seems like the majority of the categories that mean the most to winning in college basketball like he is this season?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have many of them. Usually they win the Wooden Award, you know, so it's a pretty rarefied era that he's playing in right now.
Mark, you always mentioned with injuries, it's kind of the day after in terms of figuring out how guys can have games and stuff. So what's your relationship with LeBron and Jackson? How have you rated out how you felt the last couple of days? And what's your optimism level for them?
Yeah.
Both playing tomorrow?
Lamont came out great. Jack's not quite so great. Andrew Carr came out really well. Amari seems like he had a decent day yesterday. We'll know more about him today. So a little bit of a mixed bag.
When you talk about building that foundation, just how fast has this season gone for you? And I don't know if you've had time to stop and think about it, but what this group of seniors, especially this group of guys who came and kind of gave their last season of college basketball, what is that going to mean to you, your program moving forward, just this institution?
Yeah. So the season just flies by every year. It's like it's just not long enough. I'm on this. I just think it's time to expand our season out to a 40-game season. Like it should be a 40-game season, especially with all the change and the turnover and the lack of continuity of teams, and also with revenue sharing and everything else. It doesn't make any sense that we're at a 31-game season. It makes no sense. And so I'm a massive advocate, maybe the only one in the world, but we need to expand the season to 40 games. Even for the guys that go on to be pros, it gives them a better sense. You know, I've talked about this, but I remember by the time I got to All-Star break, my first year in the league, I was like, this is insanity. I have, 41 plus the playoffs to go. I got 60 games left. So I think it's a good prep that way. And so the season's gone by really, really fast. And I love these guys, man. You just, it's hard to express in words what it's like to be able to coach guys that are willing to be so incredibly invested in the program and the jersey and the state and that it means as much to them as it does to me, and that are willing to love each other as much as these guys have. It's an incredibly special group of seniors.
Mark, with Brandon, was that the best game you saw from him defensively so far this season? And how do you just kind of get him to build off that, especially with this matchup specifically being so difficult in their size?
Yeah, I thought he had an unbelievable defensive effort. It was the best focus he's had, the best energy he's had. I thought he was really terrific, and it means a lot to us. It's actually really important. I thought he was really special on the defensive end, and he's doing good things on the offensive end too. And I do think it's a place where he's growing. He's made a huge jump from last year. He's 5 statistical categories now. He's in the top 500, and I love the fact that he made multiple threes in the game at Oklahoma, and all we want to talk about is his defense. That's how impactful he was on the defensive end, and that's a great way to build a career. So I'm really proud of him, and I do think he's capable of reproducing that night in and night out.
What's kind of the next step for him long term, like next couple seasons for Brandon?
Yeah, so he is. We have so many projects that we're working on with him. He's grown in so many ways. He's grown as a decision maker on the floor. His turn down rate is really good. It's really productive. So he's been special there in his decision making. I think there's so much with him on the glass that's going to be really important, with him working inside, which is going to be really important in the post. It's going to be important on the defensive side of the ball. Like his ankle and knee and hip mobility and strength is going to be a game changer for him. His conditioning is going to be a game changer for him. Like that space is going to allow him to do things. He's making huge strides right now shooting the ball, and he's got an incredible future. And we've said this all year long, but he's got a real future being a shot maker. He's growing as a leader. Last week, actually 2 times in practice, it was really notable where he was the voice. He actually, wanted to contribute in a leadership way. He volunteered and delivered on the pregame speech at Oklahoma, which was his first pregame speech, which sounds like a fun thing, but that's a real thing in terms of his opportunity to be a leader. So his ceiling is really, really high, and he's just barely scratching the surface.
You've talked about Mikael McLean a few times over the course of the season. Talking about Brandon and talking about Amari. I know you didn't really have any relationship with him before he came here, but what has he meant to this program and just the development?
Yeah, he is. Mikael's going to be a star in this business. He's going to be a star. You talk about high ceilings. He's got a really high ceiling. He's meant so much to us. I mean, he's, clearly you guys have seen it, especially through circumstance and injury. Our fives have had to carry a burden for our team unlike any other fives in the country this year. And it leans into the way we play anyway, but they've had to carry all that. And Coach McLean has been with those guys every step of the way, kind of mentoring and tutoring and teaching and growing them. He's daily film with those guys, analytical breakdowns, coaching them on the court, coaching them in the classroom and in their life. And he is a star in the making. He's going to be a head coach sooner than any of us would imagine. And he's going to crush it. He comes from really good roots. He's got great DNA. He's worked with great coaches, and he's been a real blessing to our entire staff and our entire team, but especially to Amari and BG, where he spends the bulk of his time.
Mark, just looking at the Oklahoma game again, Kobe led you guys in minutes, 11 and 7 rebounds as well. So it seems we've been talking to you more and more about things that aren't just a shooting point ability. Just what do you see from him with this continued evolution as a player, with maybe some of those other qualities that aren't the 3-point shooting are coming to the surface a bit more?
Yeah, it was nice. I thought on film, he got cooked a couple times defensively, chasing two around off staggers and rescreens. But when you get into the film, like his in-between game, his energy game, his defensive intensity game was great. Starting with the glass, like he came up with man-sized, really challenged, really important rebounds, none more than the last rebound of the game. But some earlier too, where he was incredibly physical and moving bodies and really engaging the physicality of the game. His gap defense was really special. He had 3 different rakes in the game where he got hands on balls as a gap defender. He is so committed. So right now we've got him at 4 of the last 6 games. He's been really good defensively, and that's awesome. Like that's incredible progress. And the expectation is down the stretch here. He's going to get better and better every single game, but it means a lot to us, especially when navigating, kind of changing lineups. And trying to grow as a defensive team. His defensive growth has kind of been a catalyst for our whole team to get better.
Last one.
Can you kind of explain more the 40-game thing? Like, do you want to see the season longer, more conference games, non-conference?
Well, I would love to see all the above. I'd love to, I'm so excited about this freedom to have Division I opponents in exhibition. I don't mind going to 4 exhibition games now with the freedom to do that. I think it gives you the opportunity to really grow and test your team in a great way, because all of us now are trying to collect so much data on our team in just a matter of a couple months. And so I think it's the more games we get, the better product we're going to have as we go. So I'd love to see that, and I'd love the non-conference to have a couple more games, because it gives you the freedom to go schedule better games. All of us right now as athletic departments are going to be more and more financially challenged as the revenue sharing, if the settlement goes through. And so it's a way for us to actually increase revenue significantly and have the freedom to actually go find a couple more great games that are really impactful. And then I think it makes sense to add a couple games into the conference regular season. It gives some conferences a chance to get to more of an even schedule in conference, which I think is a bonus. I think it's great when you can play home and away with every team every year. It just adds that real spice and a continuity to conferences. Some of the conferences are too big to probably get to that number, but the more of those home and homes that you get in conference. I think it makes conferences better. I think it's better for fans and better for teams and better for rivalries. And so I think all those things, are important. Every study that you look at since the beginning of time will show that our students are better students during the season than they are out of the season because they have a schedule that they're locked into. And so I feel like it's a no miss scenario. I think it would be really positive, and I'm advocating for it. In case I didn't say that already. Thanks, guys.